run-of-the-mill, if you will, superstar? And why did Willie Mays make such a connection with fans in New York and fans in San Francisco? Of course, it was because he was a great player. But and I'm going to get to Paulie in a sec, but I'd love people to weigh in here at 888-957-9570. Okay, I'm going to throw this player out. Give me an answer for this. And I'm not saying he was. I'm not saying these guys aren't Willie Mays, but I'm looking at some guys who I think made a connection. Maybe some guys who didn't make a connection, and I'm asking the question, why and what do you want? And this may be before your time, but it shouldn't be. Why did Warrior fans have such a connection to Monte Ellis? Monte Ellis.
Before my time, that was my favorite player growing up.
Okay, perfect.
I love Monte.
Perfect. Why?
Because when I was in 7th grade, because when I was in middle school, he was exciting. And he was like, I don't know. He did things on the court.
Hold on. You just said, I don't know. And that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, yeah, obviously we're trying to define it. But, dude, Monte was box office for the Warriors. Dude, like the Warriors stunk. I mean, it wasn't like I was there to watch, them win 60 games or 73. I was there to be entertained. Monte Ellis was walking entertainment because, well, I'm going to be honest, he had the ha-ha.
But
he got buckets.
But he was, and I don't mean this negative, he was awful off the court. Not as a person, but just as an interview. He was unbelievably shy when he first got here. He was drafted as a 17-year-old. So
Mississippi Bullet.
Yeah. And so he was uncomfortable doing interviews. He did not like it. He was a little insecure. He was self-conscious. He was younger than everybody else. So he was pretty quiet. I mean, over the course of time, he opened up a little bit, but to me, a guy like Monte Ellis, it stopped once he left the court. Like, was there anything extra with Monte Ellis that pushed him into a category that other players didn't have, if you know what I mean? I'm just throwing out some questions. 888-957-9570. Willie Mays got me thinking about, what kind of face of a franchise do you want? What kind of superstar do you want? We all want a superstar, but if you could get any superstar, who would it be? Let's go to Paulie. Paulie's in San Francisco. What's up, man?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Doing a great job. And poor Guru, hope you feel better. We'll see you on Monday, I hope. I'm turning 50 next week, and there's always one player still stuck in my head that even his own teammates were fans of his. Even his opponents were fans of his. Beloved by the world. Made more money in endorsements than Michael Jordan did during his heyday for that one set of years. The only unfortunate thing, I think you guys know who I'm talking about, was his career was short-lived, and that's Bo Jackson. I mean, if you think about it, you showed up. When I was a kid growing up and he was playing for the Royals, and I'm a diehard Raider fan, I'm a diehard A's fan, I was more of a Raider fan, and I would go to those games and sit in the bleachers. And I remember one time I went to the game and the Royals, and Danny Tartabull was starting for him, and I was so mad. And he came out, though. Bo Jackson, knowing he's a lot of Raider fans in that stadium, he went to batting practice. He came out there. I mean, this guy, come on, you guys. Let's talk about Bo Jackson. I know it was a short-lived career, but who else? I mean, what was his flaw?
Well, okay. Thanks, Paul. You appreciate the call.
Well, I think it's hip, but
well, I think it's first of all, Bo Jackson had a stuttering problem when he got into the professional sports. Like again, it took him a while to make a connection with the fans. I'll tell you what. Here's the other thing I'm thinking about Bo Jackson, and I get it. And Jim Barnett says your greatest strength's your greatest weakness. Can you really be, the guy if you're playing two sports? If you know what I mean?
But I think that's what people loved about Bo Jackson.
No doubt.
Like he made you reconsider what was possible for an athlete. And I think that's at the center of all of these people that we're talking about, is they make you reconsider what's possible for their sport. Steph made everyone reconsider what a weapon the three-point shot could be. You know, Willie Mays made you reconsider, from what it sounded like and what I've read, how you were able to bring flair to a game. You know, I mean, it just, all of these guys make you reconsider what's possible. And I think there's, you know, the Bo Jackson thing is interesting because the short-lived career, it always makes you wonder. And then you start to hear tales about players. Like, there's something mythical about Bo Jackson. There's something mythical also about Willie Mays because there's not a lot of footage about him. So it's almost like the legend grows more and more as they get older, because I don't know if it's the whole tale about the fish. You got it was a couple inches, and then by the time you're in your 90s, the fish is, you know, a trout that's 150 pounds. But like, the fish just always keeps getting bigger.
What fish?
You know, when you catch a fish every year, the fish gets bigger when you tell the story, right?
Oh, like a fish story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, when you talk about your 81, you know, you'll eventually start to put more flair on it. There'll be more drops as you get older, because you're going to remember that, right?
Yeah, we can get into my golf game. No, I'm just kidding. Here's my point. I'm going to name you this, and it's not really a point. It's just my opinion. So I'm going to name you two players, and I just want you to assume. I don't want you to say, oh, well, this guy's a little bit better or that guy's a little bit better.
I'll try not to be literal.
Correct. These are two greats of the game. Which one would you really want to be the face of the franchise? Would you want Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Magic.
How come?
He's Magic. I mean,
because he's more exciting? More charismatic?
Yeah, I think so.
Exactly. And so Willie Mays had that. Like Joe Montana didn't.
There's also, I mean,
like Bird didn't really even have that. Bird didn't have it.
But you like Bird more than you like Magic.
Well, that was more a regional thing. I love them both now. But as a kid, yeah, I mean.
How come? I mean, Magic was charismatic.
I like the Celtics. That was the biggest reason. Now I started liking the Celtics because of Bird.
But Bird is boring.
He was. Not as a player, though. That's
what I'm saying, though. I don't think Willie Mays was like...
Who was Willie Mays like, if we could is there anybody today?
I don't know. Probably not. Because this is the thing, too. Like, Willie was... I think one of the reasons that he was as big as he was in San Francisco is because he was also big in New York. Like, there are very few athletes that are able to own both coasts and that are legends in both places. Because generally when you leave, they kind of, you know, they throw you away. You're someone else's now. But because Mays was entrenched in Harlem, where the Polo Grounds was, like, he was a man of the people. I don't know if you could really do that now. I don't know if you could go outside and play stickball in the streets with kids. I don't even know if you could go outside and go down to your local shop and just have a cup of coffee without being absolutely swarmed or people pulling their camera phones out. Like, all of that stuff was a product of the time, but Willie Mays was the greatest to possibly ever play, but he also was, I think, seen by most as a man of the people.
Yeah, I mean, if I gave, just hypothetically, because I love hypotheticals, if I gave you your choice, okay, you can have it. You could have had any of the five following faces of a franchise: Jordan, LeBron, Magic, Bird, Curry.
If I could, repeat that?
I'm going to give you the number one pick for your face of the franchise. Is it Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, LeBron James, or Steph Curry?
Well, I'm biased. Steph.
I would take, and this is what I mean.
To me, it's between him and Magic.
I think I'd agree with you. I think I totally agree with you. I'd probably take Magic just because he was a little edgier. But again, Magic had the HIV. Like, we found something out about Magic that we didn't, well,
Magic
wasn't flattering.
Magic had a vice.
He did have a vice. I think everybody's got a vice. What's Curry's?
We'll find out.
I do believe everybody's got a vice/dark side.
No. Turnovers. just kidding. That was a rib. Sorry. No, but I think it's interesting. Like, you think about Magic versus Curry, and I think partially because all the things that I've seen written and made about Magic, they highlight the good.
Right.
They don't really talk much about the bad. But I mean, I don't know. Like the first image that popped into my mind with Magic Johnson was just his smile.
Right, exactly.
Like, his smile is magnetic.
What about Jordan? Real quick.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Oh, I think of him in the air.
Okay.
Like, I think of the Jordan logo.
See, I think of over the top competitiveness, just over the top. Not necessarily even that. I don't mean it as a bad thing, but in my mind, I do think, sometimes you can do that. But that's what Jordan was, and that's why a lot of people loved him, no doubt about it. Scott's in Hayward. What's up, Scott? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, really enjoying the combo. This is a fun morning for you guys. I want to say Willie Mays, I think, is unparalleled. You guys were looking for a comp, but Willie really embraced the entertainment value. He was a showman. I read that he wore his hat one size too big, so when he'd run the bases, it would fly off in dramatic fashion. He would actually make dramatic catches even more so by going into an unnecessary slide. I mean, this is one of the greatest defensive players of all time. And he was so good, he would make plays look harder than they actually were just to entertain the fans. I can't think of another athlete that does anything like that. I mean, you've got great dunks in basketball, you've got some showmanship, but nothing like what Willie Mays reportedly was. I think he was truly one of a kind. I think he's the greatest to ever strap him on. Keep the show going, gentlemen. Love it. I
love that word, unparalleled, because he might just be right. Here's another guy that popped into my head, Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin. What pops in here? Chris Mullin. He was. I would put him on the upper tier of connection with the fans, or let's just say fan favorite, if you know what I mean. And he was a hell of a player.
Oh, I'm a little too young, but I'd probably think of Run TMC. Like, I think about him as a part of a group, not an individual.
He was, I think by his own admission, he was not a leader, or more of a leader by example. He would talk to the press, but he wasn't overly exciting when he talked to the press. But, what was the connection that Mullin made with the Bay Area? And again, we're just throwing names around about what you want in your superstar.
But I do think, okay, so for example, the Rickwood Field game tonight.
Yes.
Willie Mays, to the caller's point, did bring a flair and an excitement to the game that bridged confidence and cocky. But he was always more confident because he could back it up. Like, it's not cockiness if you can do it. You kill him with kindness. You do it with a smile. You do it with, I don't know, just a machismo that's very individual. All of that did start at Rickwood Field because that was a natural part of the game in the Negro Leagues. It was not just about the substance. It was about the entertainment value. And so Willie Mays was able to bring that to the major leagues. And unfortunately, around the time of his leaving was also around the time the Negro Leagues folded. But that's also why, the game tonight to me is relatively meaningless. But everything around the game, everything about Rickwood Field, everything about the reason that they're playing, the Giants and the Cardinals are at 4:15 on Fox, because it's essentially the Willie Mays Classic. That is the birth of everything that we're talking about in regards to Willie Mays the person, because that's where he was born and that's where his game was founded.
Yeah. For example, Nahigian was asking us, he was just running down the players, or great players, and he said, what do you think of when you think of this guy? And so let's okay, and it all starts with Willie Mays because he is obviously or apparently the gold standard for everything an athlete should be, how loved he was. Okay, so, like he said, Chris Mullin, why is he? And I said, well, I think a lot of people with Chris Mullin, it was when he went into alcohol rehab his rookie year, came back, and has been a success story ever since. Like that, you got to have a story that people can really relate to also, I think. That's a monster part of it. Like when Mullin came out of rehab and became the player he became easier to want to support, I think, as opposed to if that had never happened.
Yeah, but I think that there are athletes that are relatable without having to go through, like traumatic experiences.
No. I get that. What I'm saying is,
like Curry's led a pretty trauma-free life from what we know.
But yeah, what I'm saying is, if Chris Mullin is loved right now at 90, like he's a 9 on a scale of 10. He's 9 out of 10. If he would have never gone in to rehab, and either it never would have gotten published, it never got publicized, or he just played his career and didn't drink. Like that's one of the reasons that he isn't a 7.5. That kind of thing pushes him to 9. Those are the kind of things that I'm trying to pinpoint in a way.
Yeah, well, Chris Mullin a lot better than I do. I'm gonna be honest, like Chris Mullin doesn't really cross my mind. I don't feel connected to Chris Mullin.
All right, Barry Bonds.
It's also because I'm from a different generation. I don't feel connected to Bonds because he never let us in. And he was always deflective. Like I think that's where, we were talking about Ricky Henderson earlier. Ricky Henderson, I think, is a more, affable person than Barry Bonds is. But he didn't really let people in. Now, he wasn't as, at least from everything I've read about Bonds, like Bonds he literally had his own part of the clubhouse. Like the guy, it was the San Francisco Giants, and then it was Barry Bonds.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I don't think that Bonds is the greatest hitter that I've ever seen in my life. And I will take that guy 11 times out of 10 on any team that I'm building. But if you're talking about representatives in, faces of franchises, Barry Bonds is the face, or was the face of the Giants. Sometimes it felt like for the wrong reasons.
Gotcha.